Very good. Okay,
Sorry.
so we're here with Neal Adams at Fan
Regis
Expo.
Philbin, the Regis Philbin of the comic book business. And who are you, young man?
I'm Max Romano.
'Cause
I'm not important though.
I thought you forgot your name, and that's why you were covering. I see.
So
Max? It's Max?
Yeah, Max.
Max. Who gave you the name Max?
Oh, my parents, I guess.
You guess?
Yeah, I mean.
You're not on top of your game. You know who gave your name. Your parents argue about it all the time. They say, I named him Max. No, I'm Maximilian. Maximilian, right?
It's Maximilian. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's Maximilian.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we're here with Maximilian. We're talking about comics. Max is a very big comic book fan, and he happens to be a fan of mine, except he's going to be arguing a little bit later with that young man over there whose first name is? Donald. You have an accent. Irish accent. So he's going to be arguing with Donald later about who is the biggest Neal Adams fan. I go for Donald. Because you know, you can't argue with an Irishman. Isn't that true? You can't, because they have big mouths. And they'll fight you down and they'll rock you on the floor. So you're going to lose that battle, I got to tell you.
I'm Irish too, to a lesser extent.
You're Irish and Puerto Rican or
Italian.
something, or Italian, Puerto Rican, Italian, whatever. Wait, to a New Yorker, every Italian is Puerto Rican. That's what we say. I just lied. I don't want any Italians after me. So what are we here to talk about, Donald?
Well,
you're
really
not Donald.
No, I'm Max.
You're Max. Okay, what are we here to talk about?
So after so many years in the industry, what?
Oh, you're going to get boring. Max.
Boring, intellectual.
What have I taught you? Get smart, get funny, talk about really down deep into the comics. Let's go right into the comics. You know the third question? Skip 1 and 2. Stop talking about the boring shit. Let's talk about the deep stuff.
Okay, so what do you love about 2013 at Comic Mix?
Everything's improving. We have 50 comic book conventions. No, excuse me, 70 comic book conventions in the United States every year. We have 30 in Canada. Rest of the world is now. We only have 52 weeks in a year. When the hell do they all happen? I think that's 100. We're off 4, right? We'd have to have a convention in every city, two conventions a week. I mean, I can't go to all these conventions. It's insane. And so we're taking over the world. San Diego has what, 160,000 people? New York has 120,000 people. This convention will probably end up with 40,000 people, maybe moving toward 50,000 people. And it's just, what, a Canadian city. We're taking over the world. There's millions of people who go to these comic book conventions. The question you have to ask is, why aren't they buying the comic books? Comic book sales suck.
Are you happy with the way the movies are developing?
Well, I would have to say the Batman movies, why, are pretty good. First 2 of the last 3, terrific. Last one, okay, a little dark, a little breaking the rules. The Superman movie, you know what? You think I'm going to say something bad, don't you? Actually, it wasn't too bad. But I have to say,
the ending sucked.
Letting your father die because your father goes, no, don't. Would you do that? Really? My dad waved me off. He wanted to save a dog. What? Wait a second. Can't you move like a bullet and become invisible? I don't understand. Then later on, he's got Zod's head, and Zod has, nails in the back of his head, so his eyes actually can't go like this. Can't your eyes go like that? If I had people to kill, I'd look over at them, they'd be dead. But somehow Zod had his eyes riveted so that Superman was aiming his head. Like that, like a robot. Does that make any sense to you? What would you have done? Okay, here's the move that he should have done. Would that have worked? I don't think I could see through that hand. Isn't that how you save these people? He's got them like this, go like this. Why did they fight in the city? I mean, when you knock the corner out of a building, doesn't the building fall down? Aren't there 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people dead then? Probably not a good place to fight. I wouldn't pick a fight. If I was going to have a fight at this convention, I'd have somebody go out to the landing dock, right? I wouldn't do it here because I'd knock kids down and My Little Ponies would be shattered, right? Isn't that true? You don't do that. You go out in the desert or you go on the moon or whatever it is, right in the middle of the city. How does that make any sense? Outside of that, the movie was terrific. And I like the Superman guy. You're supposed to laugh now. So anyway, yeah, it has its ups and downs, right? I mean, the Superman movie before that, Superman goes off for 6 years and suddenly comes back and he has a, illegitimate 12-year-old son. 6 years, illegitimate 12-year-old son. Maybe it's because he traveled faster than light, and it didn't make any sense to me. You got this kid picking up the piano and all that. I don't think that happens in the comic books. I don't think he's got one of those illegitimate kids. And didn't he have it with Lois? And doesn't Lois have birth control? Maybe not against Kryptonian. I'm just saying. Have I read what? No, I didn't, because I'm afraid of books like that, because they're real. They're real books. They scare me, What is... I mean, if you think of it, we're all kind of marshmallows to Superman. You, in particular, are marshmallow. So what I'm saying is that we've taken 2 really big shots at it and kind of missed both shots. It's time to do a good one. And let me say this about Green Lantern. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, that all the kids in America said, who the hell is Hal Jordan? That Jon Stewart is Green Lantern, isn't he? Because they watch the cartoons on television. And the, 100,000 people of us who read the stupid comic books think it's Hal Jordan. But millions of kids across the world say, no, it's Jon Stewart, right? Why didn't that occur to the film people? I don't know. They sit in these boardrooms. I don't know if you've ever seen these boardrooms. They have these marble boardrooms. They have these big chairs. And they have microphones and TV sets come up and all this stuff. And they don't know that Jon Stewart is Green Lantern?
Well, I guess the easy answer is they, wanted to use a white guy.
Really? You think that may be the case? I don't know. And why did they go from Gil Kane to Jeff Johns? I mean, I don't criticize Jeff Johns. I think he's doing a great job. But he kind of jumped over the humanity, where Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams did this really nice Green Lantern, Green Arrow kind of thing, and you get a lot of humanity. They kind of missed that and went from here to here and lost, what is it, $150 million? $150 million? Mistake. I would say that's a mistake. I feel sorry for those guys, and I mess up a comic book, it doesn't sell that well, that's a little rough. They mess up, it's $150 million. That's a lot of money. I'm sorry. So when you ask me about the movies, those 2 first Batman movies, very, very good. Ra's al Ghul, they gave me a royalty check, it was very nice. And they sort of followed the comic books. What is the lesson here? Follow the comic books? There's an idea, let's do that. And when they do follow the comic books, like Marvel is doing one after another, they make hundreds of millions of dollars. When is that lesson learned? I would think it would be learned pretty much right away. $100 million? Boy, that would be a lesson. I recently did Batman Odyssey, which is the very first novel in a comic book form, which is different from a comic book in that it's bigger and more grand and more exciting, and actually has a beginning, a middle, and an end, which a lot of comic books don't seem to have these days. And it's a novel, which is the wave of the future. The wave of the future is we got comic pamphlets, which we read, 22 pages, and we have comic books, quote. I hate to do that. When people do that, don't you get like, oh, what's that? Oh, I don't know. That's 2 worms on either side. So it's a novel. If you read it, you read a novel. Well, that's not bad, because you know what? It takes less space in the comic book store. And everybody can make money. There's a good idea. And then you can get one of them and you can read it over a period of time and have a really good time reading it, like a Stephen King novel or whatever. I think that's the wave of the future. So that's Batman Odyssey. Then I did a thing called The Next X-Men, or the First X-Men. First X-Men, that's what it's called. And it was about the X-Men before the X-Men. Another good story idea. And what I recently did was a little short story called Batman Zombie. Because I love zombies. Don't we all? So it's a little short story about Batman. It's going to appear in black and white in one of their black and white books. And the next thing that I'm doing is, kind of an incidental character. I'm not supposed to talk about it. I don't know how to describe him. He's got an S on his chest, but I know you can't tell what he is by that. And you're going to hear some very odd things about him, and I think we're going to mess things up. And that's my job.
So if you had a lesson for artists, new artists, what would it be?
Don't mess around. That's the lesson. Don't mess around. Warning you. That's the lesson. Well, draw better and think more, because, we're responsible for taking over the world, and if we keep on being jackasses, that's no good for anybody, right? So, and we are, pretty much, well, you can look around the convention, we're pretty much jerks. Really, I mean, I don't know how many interviews you've done today, but, pretty much when you're talking to comic book artists, you're talking about a bunch of childish jerks, right? Yes,
I don't
yes.
think so.
Oh, you don't think so? Play the safety line. That's good. That's good. Stay on the line like that. No, bunch of jerks. Got to catch on, do a little business. We're responsible for the fiction of the world. The best stories, the best movies, the best television shows are comic book related. The best computer games, comic book related. You can read comic books on the internet. We are taking over the world. We better be responsible, because we don't want that comics code to come back, do we? No, not a good idea. So let's stop destroying cities every issue and killing people. Just calm down. Let's make better comics. Oh, with stories. Instead of, I've just killed half of New York, let's have a story. Wouldn't that be better? Say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good. Okay. It's very important that you agree with me. I think that for those of you out there who might be interested, our comic books are getting a little violent, and there's a comics code right around the corner, because people don't like that fed to their kids, and they would rather we tell stories. So if that's your choice, destroy half of New York or tell stories, I think telling stories is a good idea.
So who do you think's in a better position to elevate these stories? The independent publishers or the big publishers?
Yes, the answer to that question is yes. I think everybody ought to be responsible. I think we better do better stories. I think we ought to act like adults who are doing stories for crazy people. But I think it's important that everybody recognize that there's always somebody looking over our shoulders. And to think that if that's not true, all you have to do is pay attention to the internet. We want responsible, intelligent storytelling of responsible, intelligent stories. We don't want somebody trying to get away with something just because it's easy to get away with it. So we all have a responsibility in comics to tell better stories. Whether they're independents or they're mainstream comic books, we want comic books that when we put them down, we go, that was interesting. Not, the hell was that? So we get an awful lot of what the hell was that. We don't get enough of, that's pretty interesting.
So what should the comic book creators, the writers and the artists, be paying attention to most?
Their brains. I mean, that's the only way you do anything any good, isn't it? You think better, and you be responsible, and you use your brain. I mean, I can't give the advice. I'm not God. I can't tell them how to do it. I can do this. I can do by example. I can do better comic books, which is what I do. And I can say, guys, let's pay attention, because, the wolf's out the door and we could easily get shot down. So let's do a good job. I know I'm getting a little serious here, but you know what? If you're gonna practically control the literature of the world, you better be responsible for doing that. Some of our editors not paying too much attention when, half of Metropolis goes crashing down. That's not good. Oh, what is it? What's the job of the rest of the world besides outside of mutants and superheroes? To repair all the crap that the superheroes destroyed? That's a big job. In X-Men, I just saw half a city destroyed. Superman movie, I just saw the other half of New York, Metropolis destroyed. I'd prefer that the human beings get out there and do a little creative stuff too, not just fix the heroes and the mutant stuff. We're busy. We have stuff to do too. So stop breaking our buildings and killing our people.
All right, Neal, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. You cool? Was good? Solid?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Would you mind if she came around and just got a minute of you doing your art?
Yes, I would mind.